Dear children, welcome to the class. How are you all, children? Praise the Lord. Children, always keep Lord in your ways, who will protect you from all dangerous things. This class we are going to see Geography Unit 5. Let us have a glance of these pictures. What do these pictures say to you? Can you identify the events? Earthquakes, flood, tsunami, landslide, etc. These are all known as hazards. Yes, Geography Unit 5, we are going to learn an interesting topic, hazard. You may hear about a lot of the hazards. What's a hazard? Hazard is a natural process or it may be man-made process, but it brought a lot of threat to the human life and property. We are living in the 21st century, so much of human population, and we are found healthier and wealthier than ever before. Lot of technological developments we have. Even just to take the communication development from letter to telegram to telegraph, and then to the phone. The first phone different from the today's phone, completely different. Today we are using the wireless communication mobile phone, lot of technological development and very healthy and wealthy life we are having nowadays. But we are lacking of awareness of the risk faced by the people from the nature, and also our misdeeds. People's negligence and misdeeds also lead to lot of loss to our life and property. Everything we are going to see in this lesson under the name hazards. So hazard is a word which is a threat to the people, and also it leads to the loss of life and structure of buildings and everything. And where does the word derive from? The word derived from the hazard. That's a French word which means game of dice. From the French word hazard, the word hazard is derived, which means the game of dice, because which is unpredictable one. Do you have the practice of playing dice? Yes. While you are playing the snake and ladder, you are using the dice which are having 6 faces. Numbers from 1 to 6 are there. Can you predict that which number will come? No, it's not easy to predict. Like the same, the hazard cannot be predicted by us, which will happen, and it's a threat to the life and property of the people. Let us see some of the types of hazards and some of the examples related for each type of the hazard, everything in this lesson. Shall we enter the lesson, children? Yes. Let us see what is hazard followed by disaster and catastrophe. Disaster and catastrophe are the two events that are following hazard. What is hazard? Hazard is a natural event, or it is a natural hazard which is a natural process, and the event is a potential threat to all human beings which threatening the life and property. Because if suppose imagine when tsunami comes, what happened? Your life and also your property would be damaged. So this process and event themselves are not a hazard, but become so because of the human use of the land. Because human being, when they are suffered by hazard, they have to lose their life and also their property. So the incident that following hazard is known by the name disaster or catastrophe. What is disaster? Disaster is a hazardous event. It's a very dangerous event that occurs over a limited time of span in a defined area and causes a great damage to property, loss of life, and also needs assistance from others. Suppose if you are caught under earthquake, you are under the damaged building, we ought to expect help from the others. That is, we need assistance from the others. But it is in a short span of time, the recovery may be completed. That type of hazardous event is known as the disaster. Suppose tsunami lashed out a place and damaged a lot. It would take lot of time for the recovery. Then it is known by the name catastrophe. So in the events that following hazard are disaster and catastrophe. How do you distinguish them? Disaster, it is also causing loss of damage to life and property at the same time, but it needs assistance from others. and it is in short span of time it can be recovered. The damages which under disaster can be recovered. But if it is a catastrophe, it's a massive disaster. Massive means disaster happened on a large scale that requires significant expenditure of money. Lot of money should be needed for recovery, and also long time also needed for recovering that. Do you understand what's a hazard, disaster and a catastrophe? Hazard is a natural process which is a threat to human life and property, and that is followed. It may occur as a disaster or as a catastrophe. Disaster, and the damage can be recovered in a short span of time with little amount of money. At that time, we need assistance from the others. But a catastrophe, it is a massive disaster which needs significant expenditure of money. There is large amount of money needed for recovery, and also we need a long time for recovering. Let us see what are the types of hazards. Types of hazards based on their causes of occurrence. On what reason it occurred. Based on their causes of occurrence, what are the types of hazards? There are three types of hazards are there based on the cause of occurrence. One is a natural hazard, second one human-made hazard, and third one is the socio-natural hazard, or it may be known as quasi-natural hazards. Natural hazards, by the name itself we can say that what is the cause for its occurrence? Nature. It's a natural process. Man has no role to play in such hazard. For example, earthquake, tsunami, flood, drought, landslides. Do man play any role in that? Can you stop an earthquake? Or can you make an earthquake? Or can you stop a tsunami? Nothing is possible to us. Whatever the development we have, these are the natural process which cannot be controlled by man beyond our control. So natural hazards are those which are the results of the natural processes. Example, earthquake, flood, drought, landslide, tsunami, etc. And based on their causes of occurrence, the second type of hazard is a human-made hazard. Completely it is caused by the undesirable activities of human being. Undesirable activities mean our negligence, our carelessness, which leads to some of the hazards. For example, suppose your mother your mother does not close the cylinder in your home properly, and it leads to a blast of the cylinder. It is completely the responsibility of your carelessness of your mom. Like the same, the road accidents or in industries, any chemical leak or oil spill. These are all caused by the undesirable activities of human. So they are known as the human-made hazard. What are human-made hazards? These are caused by undesirable activities of human. Example, road accidents, industrial gas leakage, oil spill, etc. They can disturb the safety, health, welfare of the people, damage or destruction to the property. Example, some explosions, that is blasting of cylinders or blasting of something, bombs, etc. Hazardous waste, which will pollute air, water, dam failures. The dam failures which lead to, dam failure is the caused by human being because of not carefully constructed. So dam failure, wars, some terrorism, these are all caused by human being, which are known as the human-made hazard. So based on their causes of occurrence, third hazard is the socio-natural hazards. So under type of hazard, what's the first one? Based on their causes of occurrence. How many types are there under the based on their cause of occurrence? 3. One is a natural hazard, second one is a human-made, third one is the socio-natural hazard. Socio-natural hazard. The name itself says that it is caused by the society, that is by the people, and also by the nature. Combined effect of natural forces and misdeeds of human. Misdeeds mean the negligence of human beings or the carelessness of human beings. For example, some of the negligence of us, it affects the nature. For example, we are cutting trees a lot, that leads to deforestation. And so we are taking the soil along the catchment areas of the river, that lead to soil erosion. And there may be, we are digging the earth for making tunnels, excavating tunnels, that leads to landslides. And sometimes we are destroying the mangrove forest, that leads to storm. And the vehicles, emission from vehicle industries, combustion of wood, that is burning of wood, coal, all combined together leads to the fog that leads to the smog, which makes the visibility less. So these are the socio-natural hazard which are caused by the combined effect of the natural forces and the misdeeds of human. What are the examples for that? Let us see few. The cutting down of trees leads to deforestation. The deforestation leads to drought. Drought means very less water availability. When monsoon failures and there is no rainfall for some years, what resulted? There is a shortage of water availability, that is called as drought. And the next one is the excavating of the tunnels, that leads to the landslides, and emission from the vehicles, that leads to the air pollution. So based on their causes of occurrence, what are the types of hazard? Natural hazard, human-made hazard, socio-natural hazard. Let us see some examples for this. Let us see the types of hazards based on their origin. Based on their origin, hazards can be grouped into 8 types. The first one is atmospheric hazard. Just example, look at the example, you understand that. Lightning, tornadoes, fog, forest fire, thunderstorms which are happening on the atmosphere. They are called as the atmospheric hazard. Next, geologic or seismic hazard. That is which are happen under the Earth's surface, which is known as the seismic. Earthquakes, tsunami, landslide, which are caused due to the movements of the tectonic plates under the Earth's surface. They are known by the name geologic hazards. And third one is the hydrologic hazard. That is due to the excess of water or the less availability of water. It may result in flood. Flood means over water. That is during heavy rainy season, water overflow when on the both side of the river banks. That leads to flood. And droughts. Drought is the other opposite to flood, where there is a shortage of water, less water availability, that results in drought. And coastal erosion. Sometimes when the waves actions are more, it eroded some important roads or some of the buildings along the coast. That is called as the coastal erosion. These are all related to water hazard. That's why hydrology, that means water, hydrological hazard. And the fourth one is the volcanic hazard. Have you seen the picture of a volcano? Very interesting to see that, isn't it? How does a volcano erupt? Where does this lava comes from? The lava, it is known as magma, which is present in the interior of the core. That is interior of the Earth's surface. There are different layers are there. In that, under the Earth's surface, the interior part is core. The core is very hot and always there is a molten form. There is a liquid form of molten magma is there. And it erupts through the cracks or fissures or fractures on their surface. And along with that heat and energy, it comes out erupted with fog and smoke. That is called as the eruption of lava flows. That is called as the volcanic hazard. So based on their origin, the first type is the atmospheric hazard. Second one is the geologic hazard. Third one is the hydrologic hazard. Fourth one is the volcanic hazard. The fifth one is the environmental hazard. Environmental hazard means in the environment where we are living around us. What are the hazards made? One is pollution of soil or air or water, desertification, that is due to cutting down of trees. So much of places there is a lot of hot, leads to global warming, and most of the places are changed into desert. That is called as the desertification and deforestation. These are affecting our environment. So they are known as the environmental hazard. And the sixth one is the biological hazard. That is which leads to the spread of diseases, epidemic diseases. Epidemic diseases mean which are spreading from one person to another person. Chickenpox, smallpox, AIDS, and killer bees. Nowadays smallpox was eradicated, but chickenpox is still there and AIDS is also still there. These are the like corona nowadays. Recently, the spreading of coronavirus which leads to loss of life and property. That is also a biological hazard. Due to disease, many people are dying. Okay, best example at present. Okay. Next, technological hazard. Due to human negligence and technology used by the human, failure of the technology of the human, it leads to fires. That is any electrical fixation failures that results in the fire. Any infrastructure failures like tunnels, dams or bridges or nuclear stations, there is a failure, mean it also leads to the extends, or it also leads, suppose nuclear station failure. Here in Kudangulam of our district, we have a nuclear power station, atomic power station. If there is any failure there, that bomb blast, that blasting of the station would affect the many kilometers around Tirunelveli. So that leads to technological hazard. And eighth one, based on the origin, human-induced hazard, which are made by human, terrorism, bomb blast, war, transportation accidents. People, it is worried to know that India leads number one in road accidents. Especially because of you children, most of you without license, you are riding on bikes. That is an offense, illegal offense. But our government is not taking proper actions on that. So children, if you are not getting license, if you go after 18 years, you must get license and drive bikes with proper training. Okay? Because of lack of knowledge in driving and lack of experiences in driving, it leads to a lot of transportation accidents and lots of life. And sometimes many people, they lost their part of the body, they lost their normal life. So keep it in mind. And civil disorder due to some of the rebellions actions against the government, something else. They are known as the human-induced hazards. So based on the origin of the hazard, hazards are classified into atmospheric hazard, geologic hazard, hydrologic hazard, volcanic hazard, environmental hazard, biological hazard, technological hazard, and human-induced hazard. Let us see some examples for these. Children, in this class, we have learned what's a hazard, what's a disaster, what is a catastrophe. What is a hazard? Hazard is a natural process and an event which threatens the human life and property. And what's a disaster? It's a hazardous event that occurs over a limited span of time and leads to great damage of property and life and needs assistance from others. What's a catastrophe? Catastrophe is a massive disaster that requires a significant expenditure of money and a long time for recovery. Then we learned types of hazard based on their causes of occurrence and based on their origin. Based on their cause of occurrence, how many types of hazards are there? 3 types. What are they? Natural hazards, human-made hazards, socio-natural hazard. Natural hazards, it results of the natural process, man has no role to play. Example, earthquake, flood, etc. And human-made hazard caused by the undesirable activities of human, result in road accidents, industrial leak, oil spill, etc. Socio-natural hazard, that is also known as the quasi-natural hazard, and it involves the human activity which affects the nature. For example, cutting down of trees leads to deforestation, landslide, etc. And taking of lot of soil, it leads to landslide, ducking the earth and excavating the tunnels. That is also digging the earth and excavating the tunnels, that leads to landslides. These are the examples of the socio-natural hazard. And based on their origin, there are 8 types of hazards. What are they? Atmospheric hazard, example lightning, tornado. Geologic or seismic hazard, example tsunami, landslide. Hydrological hazard, that is flood, drought, which resulted in water, that's why. And volcanic hazard, that is eruption and flow of lavas. And environmental hazard, that is pollution of soil, desertification, global warming. Biological hazard, spreading of diseases like chickenpox, smallpox, AIDS. Technological hazard, that is a failure of technology result in fire accidents, infrastructure failures result in damage of buildings, bridges, tunnels, dam failure, etc. Human-induced hazard, that leads to terrorism, bomb blast, transport accidents and civil disorder, etc. Go through the class carefully, children, and read the part from your book also. Reading makes you perfect in learning. So practice makes us a man perfect, like that reading makes you perfect. Have the habit of reading. So read the part of the lesson which was taught in the class and try to answer the questions which are given in the homework page. Thank you, children. God bless you all. Always be positive and be a productive one. Okay.